Good afternoon and welcome everyone to Staff Services Confidence Builder Series, session number 8, where today we are going to be looking at everything at your fingertips, learning about the Volunteer Connection app. Julie is here to present for us today, and I'm going to pass it over to her in one moment. I do want to give everybody a reminder of the purpose and goals, why we are here today. It's to build confidence in your knowledge and skills, to discuss the tasks required of a staff services worker, to introduce improvements and new features in Volunteer Connection, to share practical tips for working in staff services, to provide an inclusive and collaborative environment to discuss topics important to our activity, and to feel more prepared for our next deployment. So this is a safe space to have open conversations about what we do in the field and how we can do it better and how we can be more confident in what we do. So Julie, I'm going to pass it over to you now. Let me know how I can support you. We did start the recording and I will be monitoring chat.
Great, thank you. Hi, everyone. I am excited to be here with you today. And give me one moment. I'm going to share my screen from my phone so you can get a live view of the app if you have not seen it yet. And just give me 1 minute. All right, so hopefully you guys have all heard that we released the DRO responder enhancement to the Volunteer Connection app on May 16th. So it's been live for just about 10 days. We had tested it out on a few DRs before that just to get some feedback, make sure everything was functioning as expected. Sherry, I can see the recording was started. It says on mine that the recording transcript started, just for the question in the chat. So this is actually what you'd see in the DRO responder view of the Volunteer Connection app. So as soon as someone is assigned to the DR, and that means that they've either been assigned virtually or they've been assigned in person and cleared their pre-assignment health questionnaire, the app will automatically switch over to this DRO responder view. So they don't have to do anything special with it. It'll happen automatically. When they're released, it'll change back for them as well. So before we get into it, if you guys can just raise your hands if you have actually gotten to use the Volunteer Connection apps so far. Great, so a few of you have. Awesome. Hopefully you all have appreciated having things in a more condensed space. So this app really came about from a lot of feedback that we got from regions, from responders, from the Workforce Care Task Force, and just kind of a labor of love from the RMS unit. We really wanted to make sure that we had this right and that we had things available for responders that they would need to help support their deployments. And I think you'll find it's really, sorry about that. It's really one of the first times that we've had some technological tools that are geared for every responder on a DR, not just some that are in a specialty area like disaster assessment. So I'm going to start out with a couple of things that are going to appear here. My view right now is for an in-person assignment. So if you were assigned in person, your view will be a little bit different than someone who was assigned virtually. If you're assigned virtually, the tiles will be intuitive and they'll change based on what you need for your assignment. So some common things everybody will have. This first one is Get Help. In the Get Help tile, this is really designed to help support responders as they have needs that come up. Let me just close this Edge notification out of there. And I see that my Get Help tile is not doing what I expected it to do. So I will still show you that. I still have the ability to show you that. Another tile here is Daily Check-in. So the Daily Check-in tile, okay, my app is just not going to function properly, but I can fix that. So just bear with me one moment. I'm going to switch over to a different view. Sorry about this, guys. Okay, so I mentioned that your tiles will appear a little bit different based on your response. So when you're deploying to a DRO, you'll see a few different things here. And Sherry, just let me know. You should see a larger screen now.
We do. We can see your screen.
Great.
It looks great. Thank you.
Okay, so you guys, just full disclosure, I'm showing you this out of a test environment. So it's going to appear a little bit differently than it would on the phone. I'm not sure what was going on with the app, but I will follow up with that and make sure that it's functioning properly. So when you're assigned in person and you're going to a DRO, you're going to have a tile in the app that is going to say getting ready. And these are cards that you're going to see in here. They're going to have different pieces of information. The incident information is just information that we enter when we're setting up the DRO. It might have this kind of standard generic line, or it might have more details about the type of incident that it is. You'll notice that it was red, and after I viewed it, it turned to green. So this is just to help responders identify where they were at as they go through each of these cards and see, you know, what additional steps or information they would need to look at. They'll be able to view the hardship codes. So these are all on here. This is a test DR, so we kind of have everything lit up on here.
Julie, I'm going to stop you just for one moment, only because Melissa put an excellent suggestion in the chat. She says, if you need to see a bigger view of what Julie is sharing, click on the 3 dots, the more options, and select focus on content. And if you need a little bigger than that, click on full screen. So thank you so much, Melissa, for sharing those tips to make it easier for everyone.
Yeah, I think, Sherry, I think you can spotlight my screen too if it's an option on there. So the hardship codes are there. Any additional information that would have been entered into the DR. So for example, right now we have some additional information for DR 637. If I was assigned to that particular DRO, in here I would see a little note with information about that DR, and then there's a note about masks being required regardless of vaccination status on that DR. So the responder can have all of this information here, and we're able to easily communicate that. These are also components of information that you would find on the DRO assignment record. So we're really just putting it all in one place. So you're not having to flip through different pieces of information. Doing things like reminding people to verify their contact information. You can see here who recruited you or assigned you to the DRO. So, you know, oftentimes responders might hear, well, contact the person who assigned you. They don't know who that is. Well, now it's in your app. You can go back and quickly look at that. But there's also links to Click on and update your emergency contact information or your regular contact information. It'll take you to your profile. There are links to the pre-deployment orientation. I can watch it right from the app, so that's embedded in there. Kind of nice. The disaster responder information guide, information about my mission card, making sure I get one, the number to CWT to make travel arrangements. We're working on an enhancement for this to be able to display flight information in here. That's not ready just yet. We've got a little while longer while we work out some of the kinks for it. It's not quite as easy as you would think it would be to get that information in here. Information about while you're traveling, who to call. You'll see the staff services phone number in here is just a generic phone number we put in here. And that's because we gave DROs the ability to enter DR specific phone numbers that will display throughout the app. So if I was staff services on this DR, I can enter the 24-hour staff services phone number in here, and it would display in different places throughout the app to help support responders as they're traveling or arriving on the DRO. Arrival instructions, we can also include different arrival information, what they should do when they arrive on the DRO, and deployment fundamentals. So these are links to the courses in Edge, so people can quickly and easily view deployment fundamentals, whether they've taken it once or maybe it's been a little while since they've deployed and they just need a refresher. So that information is in here. Sorry for the scroll. I'm going to go back over here and I'm going to show you how the virtual one is slightly different from that. So you'll see in the virtual, we still have the incident information, the hardship codes, the additional information. These are all left in there because oftentimes we have virtual supervisors. And so it's important that the supervisors know and understand what the workers in the field are experiencing. Everybody should be on the same page with what the conditions of the DRO are. We still have verifying the contact information, the information guide. I'm going to expand this information for virtual responders. It talks a little bit in here about getting checked into the DRO if you don't hear from your supervisor what to do. So all of that is in here. There's tips for fulfilling a virtual assignment. So those are in here as well. Additional resources for remote workers.
Thank you.
And again, the deployment fundamentals is in here. So it looks a little bit different than your in-person tool, but again, that is by design because your needs as a virtual worker are slightly different than in person. And Sherry, stop me if we have questions because I truly can't see the chat now.
Yeah, we're doing okay. We don't have any questions. We did receive a lot of thumbs up in response to things you were talking about.
Awesome.
I was going to say we were having one person that was having some technical challenges, but she fixed it. So we're ready to rock and roll. Thank you, Julie.
Awesome. Okay, so this is the Get Help tile, and everybody will have access to this. This is staff services help. This is not 911 type of help. So you'll see you have a drop-down menu here that you can choose from to help select. These are commonly requested items that people need assistance with. So you can select it, you can type in your message and what your question is about, and you click submit. When you click submit, it goes to a workforce queue where someone from staff services team can follow up with the person submitting the request. So, and I can show you that screen as well. I'll show you the workforce queue towards the end of this.
Excellent. And we did actually have a couple of questions pop up. So Lorraine is asking, are there any plans for incorporating the usual DRO orientation into the app?
Yes. So, we know that this is just the start of things to happen with the app, right? The app has lots of opportunities for expansion. And right now, we are having to prioritize what we need to get in there first. So, the tools in the app don't replace the jobs that people are doing. That it's here to help support and reinforce what's happening on the DRO. So yeah, we're working with training right now to identify some things. They've got some asks of us to get into the app, and there are quite a few other asks that are out there as well from other areas in disaster cycle services. So we're working to prioritize those, and as budget allows, we'll keep making advances on the app. So good question.
Exciting news. And we have one more for virtual responders. And I should say two more because another one just popped in. But for the first one is for virtual responders, can this app be accessed from the desktop and/or laptop, or must it be downloaded on a mobile device?
So right now it's not accessible like through Volunteer Connection. And it has to do with the way that it interfaces. We have been talking about, can we make it accessible like through a web browser type of view? That is something that we're having conversations about and talking with the developers about. But what you can do if you don't have a phone, but let's say you have a tablet or an iPad, something like that, you can download the app to that tablet and you can utilize it there. So even if it's not cellular enabled, if you have access to Wi-Fi, you can connect to the Wi-Fi just like you would at home, and you can utilize it on a tablet.
Perfect. And then Ron had kind of a comment / question. It says DRO orientations are often unique and specific to the DROs, but they could be YouTubed and links provided in the Volunteer Connection app, maybe with a question mark.
Yeah, this is all things that we're working with training on and things that we have identified as things that we could possibly add into the app to help get information out to responders. Absolutely.
Thank you. And that, oh, and one more just came in. Can it be loaded on a Kindle Fire tablet type?
I'm not sure about a Kindle. I can ask about that and get an answer back to Sherry, but let me write this down. Kindle. All right, so I will ask about that and I will get you an answer. It might not be today, but I should have it pretty quickly for you.
Fantastic, and I can share it with the group once we have it.
Great. Okay, so this is the Get Help tab. We talked about selecting and documenting your message. Down here, there's just a note that says, that your request is going to be reviewed. If you need immediate assistance, click here to see important phone numbers. So important thing throughout the app, anywhere where you see something highlighted in blue, or that becomes underlined like that, that's a hyperlink, and it's going to expand or give you some additional options of things you can do. So I'm going to go on ahead and click this, and you'll see that there's some different information in here. The concern connection line, the disaster staff support hotline. So this is not actually staffing. It's a little bit of a misnomer in the name, but this is talking with our mental health folks. We're going to update these hours. It says 24/7, but it's actually a little bit different hours. So we'll update that. These numbers here, staff services through others, are the ones that I've highlighted. These are numbers that staff services on the DRO can enter, and these are specific to that particular DRO. So only people assigned to that DRO are going to see these numbers. If no number is entered, then the whole line just will not appear. as an option there. So let's say, for example, that only the 24-hour staff hotline or the 24-hour staffing number is entered and no others. You wouldn't see any of this other information in there. You'll see down at the bottom in others, we've given staff services the ability to enter other specific information or phone numbers that are important to help the responder for this particular assignment. So perhaps it might be a link to a YouTube video or something like that. We do have the ability to embed it here. And I know you're thinking right now that, oh, well, we could put the orientation in there. This is not a natural place for someone to look for orientation, so that's why we don't suggest it. This would be something like if there was an important message that came from DRO headquarters or a Brad message, you know, sometimes there's those that pop up out there. Perhaps there might be another email address or some other phone number that's needed that we didn't have identified up above. We have the ability to create and add that for a particular DR. And again, these are all DRO specific, so only people assigned to these DROs would see this. And this is for both in-person and virtual.
And Julie, we have a question. Will IAPs and sit reps be visible on the app?
Yes, and I will show you how to access that.
Oh, excellent. And we have had a bit more conversation about the Kindle and the different app versions. Kim replied she's never seen the VC app on her Kindle, and Melissa responded the reason for using a web app version of it rather than the mobile device version is that the web app version is bigger and will be more accessible to those who are visually impaired or can't see enough of the screen or info on a small smartphone screen or small tablet. Yeah. Not everyone can afford to go out and buy newer and bigger mobile devices. And additionally, Kindles run on proprietary Amazon software. It is not typical Android software, so it is unlikely to be made available in the Amazon Kindle App Store.
Yeah, if you can't, I know right now, if you can't see the Google Store or iTunes, then you wouldn't be able to download the app to that device, because right now the only places you can download it from are iTunes and the Google Store for the Android devices.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And that's all we have in chat for now.
Okay, great. Okay, so we talked about getting ready. We also have daily check-in. Daily check-in, you may be more familiar with because we were testing this out last year via text. We will still have that option to complete it via text, but you can also complete it via the app. If you've completed it on the app and you go to try and do it again, it'll tell you that you've already completed it for the day, so you don't have to worry about it. You will still get a text because right now that's how the notification is going out. The app's still very new, not everybody has it. So you're getting the text notification saying, you know, complete the daily check-in. If you completed it on the app, don't worry about the text, you can ignore it. Okay. So the object of daily check-in is really to help validate the information that we have in Volunteer Connection, and this helps to make sure that we have people lodged in the right places, that we know and understand where they're at, that their gap is recorded correctly, their supervisor is recorded correctly, and these are all things that help to improve the responder experience. And as I'll show you throughout the app, it'll be important that this information is correct because it will appear in other places. So you get some options and you can select that you're working, you're off, you're not on the operation. So perhaps you've left the DRO, but you didn't out process, or staff services doesn't show you as out processed yet. Or perhaps you haven't arrived yet, but were errantly checked in. We know those things happen, so this helps to account for where people are at on the DRO. This information, the top section here, the yes, no answers, this will be visible to supervisors in the DRO supervisor rosters. So supervisors will have a better understanding if their workers are indicating that they're working or off for the day. There's a filter for that, and I can show you that as well. So I'll get the option here in daily check-in. I can select, yes, this information is correct, or if the information is not correct, you'll see I get a notification. It tells me to enter corrections below. Entering corrections here does not change anything in Volunteer Connection. It simply puts what I believe my information should be into a message in the workforce queue for staff services to follow up on. If it turns out that I did have correct information, that I corrected it, maybe my supervisor's not Charlie, maybe I'm going to say that my supervisor is Jen Short, and I click submit, this is going to flag in the workforce queue that I think my supervisor's different than what Volunteer Connection was displaying. So this will indicate to staff services that they need to follow up with me and with Jen or Charlie to find out who my supervisor actually is. And you'll see I can do all of this. I can do my gap, my lodging location, my room number of the hotel, and my expected release date. It'll also give me the option for my current work location. So we know sometimes on DRs, things move rapidly and they change rapidly. So this is a way to help staffing keep up with some of those changes as well. So I can click submit and it will send that off.
And Julie, before we move too far forward, we have a question from Jackie. Is it correct that the local deployment teams cannot see the app unless they become responders themselves?
That is correct. You have to be assigned to the DRO, either assigned virtually or in person, and complete your pre-assignment health questionnaire.
Okay, thank you so much. And that's it for now.
All right. So, all right, daily check-in. All right, let's talk a little bit about Mission Card. I'm going to tell you right now that Mission Card is going to appear differently than what you see it in the app today. I apologize for that, but you'll get a little preview. Actually, this is what you'll see in the app today, so I didn't select the new one. This is what you'll see in the app today. You can either request a reload or you can ask a question about your mission card. If you ask a question about your mission card, you select inquiry and you type in your message. If you want a reload, you'll see here that it's going to display all of the information that I would need for a reload, to request a reload via email, the way that we've been doing it. It's going to ask me to confirm the last 4 digits of my card number. And then in the comment section, I can say I need funds to support an additional week of assignment. Whatever the case may be, you know, whatever notes that you want to communicate about why you need a reload. And then I would click submit and it lets me know that my request has been submitted. It will send me a copy of that email. It will send a copy of that email to the Mission Card Reload team. And then the Mission Card Reload team can reply to that email, much like if you were assigning a responder to a DRO and you entered a proxy number at the time of assignment and you get the notification that your mission card load request has been submitted. This does the same exact thing. And then once that is reloaded, then the reload team can reply back to that email. It's going to send me a copy and they can tell me that it's been loaded.
Okay, we have a question. Will it tell us how much money we still have left on the card?
Who asked that?
I'm not going to out anyone, but
Was that my friend? Okay, so you'll see here that obviously up at the top I have a mission card balance. This is something brand new that we're working on. We're pretty close to releasing it. This is not going to be the final view of it, but this is what we're working on. Yes,
Oh,
you will
cool.
see the balance on your mission card, and it'll give you a date and time of it. I can say check my balance now, and it'll currently display my balance. I'll be able to view my transactions. This is going to be reordered for your most recent transactions up top.
Nice. And we had one other question in chat. If a responder's situation changes during the day, like a different work location or lodging location, is there an expectation that the responder should update their information via the app on the fly, or is it just the next time they receive that prompt?
Just the next time they receive that prompt, because you're only going to be able to enter the daily check-in once. So if you've already done it for the day and then something changes after that, you can correct it at the next one. Hopefully that information's been communicated to staff services and they've updated it. But in the event that they didn't get that information or they hadn't gotten to updating it yet, you can submit that information and they'll have it there for follow-up.
Fantastic. And then we did have a nice compliment that says it's really nice to get to peek at the app as it develops. So
Yeah.
Thank you.
Don't tell your friends yet because we haven't released it. We're still, like I said, we're working on a couple of tweaks for that, but we're excited about it.
Thank you. And so we're all caught up now.
Great. So this is the work location tile. We really wanted this to be interactive and meaningful. So as responders have their work location and their lodging location and DRO headquarters, we know this is something that they have questions about all the time, or they need assistance. How do I get from my work location to my lodging location? Or the DRO headquarters. So what we've done here is we've given you a map so you can see proximity between your locations. And then we've also given you the ability to get directions. So if I want to go to my work location and I have location services enabled on the app, it's going to take my current location and map to where it's going to map from my current location to my work location. If you do not have location services enabled on the map, on the app, then you will need to type in your location. But I'll click on here just so you can see what'll happen. So this is my work location. You'll see it's here. And so I would just be able to get directions to that location. Okay, same thing here with lodging. The only reason why it doesn't appear on the map is because I don't have lodging assigned. If you noticed on my daily check-in, it's at home of record. DRO headquarters, again, I would be able to click that and get directions to that location as well. So if workers need to quickly find where they're working, where the headquarters are, lodging, the proximity to all of those, they'll be able to view that on the map. I'm trying to go slower here so I don't hurt anybody's eyes here, but they would be able to see and get an idea of how far they are from things.
Okay, Julian, we have a comment with some reinforcements that have given quite a few thumbs up to the comment in chat that I think it's worth mentioning right now. So not to overwork the issue, but I think it would be helpful for the local deployment teams to have all the info in the app that is available to the responders so we don't give them any conflicting information. So is there another space that information is updated and could be accessed by the local team if they're not able to get it on the app?
So you guys have that information now. This is all the same information that they're getting when they're being assigned to the DRO. The things that might be a little bit different are like the work location information, and that's because work locations change, right? We can assign people, and what they need to know is their reporting location. Where do they need to go to when they get on the DRO? That's what the region should be communicating with the responders, is their reporting location. We all know this is, if you've ever deployed, you know this happens all the time. You could have had a work assignment identified, but you get to your reporting location and it changes. A shelter changed or closed, or headquarters had to move. Take DR 637, for example. I'm sure Steve could tell you how many times they've actually had to move while on that DRO. So work assignments were very fluid. Otherwise, all the other information that we're providing to responders, less the mission card balance information, it's all in the information you have access to today. So it's in Volunteer Connection, it's on their DRO assignment record, their proxy number is what you're entering, so you even have that information available. When you're filling or assigning someone to a DRO, you even have the supervisor information if it was available. That's all there, and it all populates if you're filling a staff request.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And then Ron is asking, how about a worker that moves around, like an IRV driver, for example? Are the locations on a DR visible in the maps?
So for IRV drivers, they're a little bit different, right? Any of our mobile teams that are out in the field, they're going to have one location that they're assigned to, and that's typically where they're starting their day off at. That's going to be the location that they're going to see in Volunteer Connection. Or I'm sorry, in the app. We're not quite there yet where we would have the ability to map out all of their stops, but that's really kind of a cool idea to explore, and my brain is kind of going in a million directions with that on how that might work. So
and Melissa did add, she said that's what the IAP is for. So that information is available, just not quite in the app, and it would be really cool. One more question popped in. Will there be training for responders to learn the app, or is it all just intuitive?
Yeah, so it is incredibly intuitive. I mean, as you guys are seeing it, except for the fact that you know, I'm doing this in Volunteer Connection versus the app and clicking on tiles, but it's really straightforward what the information is. It is really intuitive. We do have a tile by tile informational piece that is available for responders. They can view it in the resource library, or it is in the deployment toolkit on the exchange. So it's in both places. And Sherry, keep me honest and remind me, and I'll show you the resource library if you guys aren't familiar with that, where you would find those types of information. But then on the DRO, staff services, training, we've been working with everybody to kind of help out with the app. But so far, we've been polling people and getting their feedback on the app, and overwhelmingly, people have indicated that it's very easy to use and very intuitive.
Okay, and we had a comment come in. I've had experience like when a volunteer was checked in early, where I was the primary point of contact with the volunteer. Very awkward not to have access to the real DRO info for someone I deploy.
Yeah, so if they're checked in early, what I would tell you is two things. You as the recruiter, contact RMS. That's what your RMS team is there for, to help provide any additional information that may be missed. This would be like the DRIS messages. The DRIS message is not in the app. So either way, you'd still have to access that.
And I think this is considered a suggestion, an interactive map of all the locations, shelters, headquarters, staff lodging, etc., where they can see where everything is in relation to each other and tap to get directions routing.
Yeah, we talked about that, and really what it came back to in the locations is this is a tool for a responder that's deployed, right? So rather than clutter it with a lot of additional information, we wanted to keep it simple for what they need to know. Where are they working? Where are they sleeping? And where the DRO headquarters is. We actually, the initial format didn't even include the DRO headquarters, but we made the recommendation that we include that on the app because responders would often have to go back to there, or that is often the reporting location. So we wanted to keep it simple. I think, if we get to a point where we would have additional locations that could be set by a supervisor or something, like for an IRV route or bulk distribution route or something like that. If we get to that point, then I could see adding an additional tile that would be like route specific. Perhaps even like a DA section that they would be going to. So there's a lot of possibilities with it, and but right now this is where we're at. But don't lose sight of those suggestions because they prompt a lot of other things. So keep them coming.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And we are caught up for now.
Okay, great. So I'm going to move on to the work assignment information. So this is very basically, this is just the worker's work assignment. So what are they assigned as? The DRO that they're assigned to, and you can see right up here at the top, corrections can be submitted on the next daily check-in. So if it doesn't appear correctly here, it can change, and we would have the ability to edit that or provide the feedback in the next daily check-in, and then staff services can work to update it. Information in the app changes pretty quickly from the volunteer connection entry to being visible in the app. So once it's changed, they would see it pretty quickly after that change was made. You'll see my expected release date is here. Obviously, I'm overdue. I haven't updated that. Your supervisor information is also listed here. And then again, your work location with directions to your work location are provided here. All right. Oh, sorry. Your supervisor information. Just to make it super simple for responders to find out who their supervisor is. This is available for in-person and virtual responders. You always should know who your supervisor is. You'll see here that I can email, and if I clicked on this, it would open up an email in my native email app, and I can email Charlie and I can say, hey, Charlie, need more information, or see you in the morning, whatever it is I need to communicate to him. If I needed to call him right away, his phone number would appear. This is the test environment, so it's not appearing here, but his information would be here. And again, that's the my supervisor tile. Okay. I'm going to skip over the supervisor one for just a moment. When I have identified my expected release date and I'm within 5 days of my expected release date, responders are going to see this returning home tile. This is for an in-person assignment. They're going to see this returning home tile, which is going to have information in here that they need to start thinking about to help get them home. The first one is my expected release date, and you'll see here, this is my expected release date. If this is changed, let your supervisor or staff services know. You want to talk to your supervisor about your work performance evaluation. It talks about making travel arrangements. Once you're within 24 to 48 hours, you can call CWT, not before then. It talks about if you don't receive an email from CWT, to call them back. It reminds you to check the balance on your mission card. It gives you the information on requesting a reload if you wanted to do it manually via email, or you can click Mission Card Help. It'll take you to the Mission Card Help tile and you can request a reload there. It talks about contacting staff services after you've made your travel arrangements so they can set your out processing date and any additional information. Checking out with DST and transportation, supporting you while traveling home. So if you run into any issues, flight cancellations, you're stuck at an airport and you need a hotel room overnight, you can call the Staff Deployment Center, all of those types of things. Updating your availability and volunteer connection. We know this is important. If you're just wrapping up an assignment, you probably want to update so you're not going back out right away, or maybe you are. Again, these are the same. These are the important phone number section. It talks about debriefing with your region, making sure that you reach out to them. And then there's just a thank you in there for deploying on this assignment. And again, you'll see these change from red to green after I've opened them. If I was virtual, I'm going to see the wrapping up tile. And this is a little bit different. It doesn't have the information about travel. You'll see that we still have the mission card tile here, and that is because we know that some virtual responders are issued a mission card from time to time to help support their virtual assignment. Okay. I am going to go to the supervisor information now. So if I was I'm sorry, I selected the wrong one. If I was a supervisor on a DRO, I'm going to be able to select the supervisor tools, and the supervisor tools are mostly the same as what you would see in the DRO supervisor roster. The thing that's a little bit different is this is a map. I know it's gray right now, but it's the same map. I would be able to see, I know why it's gray. It's gray because I don't have any active direct reports. If I had any active direct reports, I would be able to see their work location, their lodging location. It does not display their room number, just the facility, and that's to help a supervisor. Maybe you need to look at pairing people up for ride sharing or carpooling to different places. This is to help with that. Or as a supervisor, I can look at everyone's work location and lodging location together on one screen. And why this is helpful for me as a supervisor, perhaps I'm having problems with people getting to work on time. So by displaying both work and lodging locations on the same screen, I might be able to zoom in and say, hey, you know, this is why they're having a challenge, because this is a heavy traffic area and otherwise they would have to get up really early. So let me go talk to staff services and see what we can do about getting them a lodging location that's closer to their work location. So these are some helpful resources that we have for supervisors. So we also know that supervisors had been struggling recently with identifying who is currently reporting to them versus who had reported to them at any point. So in the DRO supervisor roster right now, if I were to look at that, I would see everybody who had reported to me at any point in time. And on the app, what I'm going to see is that it's already been filtered to who is currently assigned to me. So this will be helpful for supervisors to have that automatic filter in there. If you're using the Volunteer Connection DRO roster, the supervisor roster there, you can filter to who's currently assigned to me. There's a filter that's available in there so you can see that same information. This will also give me some information about what's happening today. So workers who would be expected to be released or arriving today, you'll see these are hyperlinked and or they have a line under them. So anytime there's a line under them or anything like that, I can click on it for more information. So if I click on it, I would get a list of names of who was expected to arrive today, or if I had clicked the released, I would see who was being released today. And again, that's based on expected, the release is based on your expected release date, and the expected arrival date or expected to arrive today is based on that expected arrival date that you enter at time of assignment or that you update, hopefully if your worker's itinerary changes. Same thing here for the next 5 days to help give an idea of who do I have leaving in the next 5 days. So as a supervisor, this might be important to me to help identify that maybe I need to look at getting some additional staff coming in. Or workers who are starting soon. So it'll give me a couple days notice. Again, I can click on it and it would tell me who's expected to be starting soon. And then evaluations needing completion. I would be able to click on that and get that information as well. So it's generally speaking, it's all the same information really that you have in the DRO supervisor roster today, less this map component to it. And it would list the work location and the lodging locations down below that if I had anyone there. So I'm going to flip over to my supervisor roster here just so you can see what I'm talking about when I say I would be able to see everybody who had ever been assigned to me. So you'll see here I had Hillary. She was released, but I can also filter here to who is currently on scene, and you'll see nobody. So if you're a supervisor and you want to filter your team roster to who you currently have, just click on scene. I mentioned about the daily check-in status that I would be able to see that. You'll see here in the filters, let me scroll this up a little bit. I would be able to see and click on the filters that would tell me who's working today, who's off today, who's not on the operation anymore that replied, and who hasn't arrived. Let me unclick all of these here. I just want to show you something where that would appear. So you'll see here on days on the job, it says no DCI response. That's no daily check-in response. So that tells me that Hillary didn't respond to the daily check-in, and that makes sense because she's released from the operation. Otherwise, I can use the filters to see that daily check-in status from here. Same thing with work locations. I can filter work locations there as well. So just in case nobody's taken a look at the filter options in a little bit, you can see that there's plenty of options currently in the roster that you can see there. All right, so I told you I would tell you where these other things are, and I am going to stop sharing this particular screen, and I'm going to show you my app just because the tiles are there, and I want to be able to share that with you. So I'm going to flip back over here. Okay, so from this page here, how I would access different things. You'll also see down below where it says ID badge. If I click on this, this should take me to just my regular ID badge. It doesn't do anything at the moment. You'll see there's a QR code there, so lots of possibilities for the future. There's a link to my profile, so I can click on that and I can update availability, emergency contact information, my regular contact information. I can do all of that from there. My groups. So this is where you're going to be able to access the IAP and SITREPs. So you'll see the first thing that pops up is my test DRO that I met here. So I can click on that, and then if there's any files associated with it, I can view them there. So I'll click on it and you know, I can view the members from there, or if I click on the files, I don't think there's anything uploaded because this is a test DRO. But if there were files here, I'd be able to see that, and that's typically where you would find the IAP and SITREP on a DRO.
Thank you. We do have one question. What can the Volunteer Connection Network ID badges be used for?
You know what, Dorothy? What I use it for is that's the only way I can remember my Volunteer Connection ID number. So right now, that's what it's there for. You know, we know that in the future there's some possibilities there. It's also a quick way, if you've actually updated your picture, you can see, do a quick face check. This is who I am. Also in here is communications. So this is communications that are happening in Volunteer Connection. So if a DRO or my region had sent emails, my assignment history is going to be in here. If I needed to look at my DRO assignment record, this is where I'm going to find that information. Okay, mine has a lot more stuff in it because I've got a lot of things going on. But you'll see here at the top, assignment to New Mexico Fire Command. So I would be able to look at that and pull up assignment records and view that information. But it's only emails that are happening in Volunteer Connection. And then there's quick links, and this is just that. It's quick links to some additional resources here. EDGE, the Exchange, the full Volunteer Connection website. Those are all available here. I will say that if you click on the Exchange is not mobile friendly. So it's going to be harder to read on mobile devices, those items there, and things will also, generally they'll appear a little wonky. You'll also notice that the resource library is here. This is the resource library for Volunteer Connection. I'm going to bring this up here. This is where you can search for different information related to Volunteer Connection. It also will provide you information to the app. So I'm just going to search in here, mobile app, and click find, and you'll see it's going to bring me some information here. The resources for the mobile app. Dorothy, here's information about ID badge, how else it might be used. If I click on this resources for mobile app, it's going to take me to a whole section about the mobile app. So we mentioned that there was tile by tile information. You'll see here that there's going to be blue sky and gray sky information. So this first information is gray sky. I know this only because I can tell by the date. You can see the mobile app tip sheet, and it'll talk about what is in each of those. You'll see there's a frequently asked questions, but then down here, you'll also see that there's the DRO responder overview and that there's the mobile app tile by tile that's available there. So the tile by tile is the one that'll walk responders through what every tile does within the app. The overview is a quick, what is this all about and why would I want to use this on a DR? And although I'm showing you these on the app, these are available in the regular Volunteer Connection website. You can access that on the resource library. There's a link to it on your homepage, as well as you can search for it.
Thank you. Well, we've reached the 2 o'clock hour. Does anyone have any last moment questions for Julie? You've done such a fantastic job presenting the new tool, and I am looking forward to using it on my next deployment. So any last second questions out there before we let Julie go? Luann has her hand up. Luann, what do you have?
Just real quick, a couple things, kind of looking at this from a staffing standpoint. This was great learning as a responder what this looks like. But if I'm working in staffing on a DRO, you said, staffing can add phone numbers to that one page.
Yes.
I don't know how to do that. And then working the workforce queue, I don't have any, I don't know how, are we going to have a separate session, I guess, looking at all of this from the staffing standpoint as opposed to the responder standpoint?
Yes. Well, I can't speak for this particular meeting, but there are additional tools available. Let me share my screen again and show you. I knew there was something I was forgetting. I promised you I would do this. There are additional trainings that are available, and the workforce team has been having those trainings related to the workforce queue and what's going on there. So first, this is a new tile that will be in disaster management on a DRO, and this is the directory. And I'll hang out here, guys. I know we're a little long, so I'll hang out here and answer any questions you guys might have after this officially ends. But in the directory, this is where we would add additional information or specific phone numbers. So you can go in here and enter these. Again, if there's nothing entered in here, that's not going to display.
And Julie, I'm not able to see your screen. Is anyone else able to see her screen?
No, I'm not either.
Okay, let me try again.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry. I'm just going to do this. So you'll have to ignore anything else that pops up. So let me go back. In disaster management, you guys can all see it now, right?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so if you're on the disaster management page, you can select the directory tile. This is where you would enter phone numbers. And again, if there's no phone number displayed, that line will not appear. And then down here in this section is where we would add those additional information in there. There is a trick to getting the hyperlinks so it's clickable and entering URLs that are clickable, things like that. So you would work with the workforce team and we would help you with that. Okay, but you'd click submit and then that would update the app and DRO specific information. Also in here is the workforce queue. So just quickly, this is the workforce queue where information would come in. You'll see there's a ton of stuff in here, and that's because we've been testing a lot. But it will tell us how many daily check-ins have been completed, how many items are pending for daily check-in, and how many help items are pending. So daily check-in is specific to daily check-in. You'll see that it'll say source type, and these are the daily check-in items. The help items pending, you're going to see from here. So I can filter to the help requests and I can see what is pending in there. You'll see we also have the ability to add notes to these. I'm going to just click on one of these. So you'll see this was a request that I had submitted, and just information. So I can type additional notes, I can add additional notes, I can update the status if it's completed, informational only, if it's still open. And this just helps the workforce team track what is going on with all of these requests that are in here. When they close out, they fall off of here and they only appear in the toggle view. So the toggle shows you everything. So I would see open and closed. Okay, but that is the workforce queue.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I'm assuming that as I know, there's when someone checks in or in processes to a DR, there's a series of things we go through to make sure, they've got a mission card, they're getting the IAP and whatever. I'm assuming one of the things we have to ask now is, did they downloaded the app to make sure they know how to do the daily check-in and all? So.
Well, you can do the daily check-in via text. You don't have to have the app for that. But it is helpful, especially if you're workforce ADs, if you are encouraging, like at the stand-up meetings, for people to download the app and log into it and use it, because it's only going to benefit them to have all that information available for them in one place.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem.
Oh, thank you so much for hanging on, Julie. Any other last questions for Julie before we let everyone get on to their day? I'm seeing none in chat. I don't see any hands raised. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us. This has been fantastic. Like I said, I'm excited to use it on my next deployment. And thank you again for all taking the time out of your afternoon and morning and joining us today for the Pacific Division Staff Services Confidence Builder Series. Have a wonderful afternoon, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.